everyone, and welcome to another episode on cybersecurity and smart buildings. I'm so delighted to be joined today by smart building expert Omar Yakobi. Omar is a business consultant at Honeywell Building Solutions. With 7 years of experience in building automation industry, Omar helps organizations to kickstart their digital transformation journey. Hello, Omar. How are you?
Hey Harsha, how are you? Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, he has great insights in smart building and building automation industry, one of the key area. So before we start, I would like to know what's your current role and your career path like.
Yeah, sure. So actually, straight out of university, I started in building automation, and I actually started straight into a building automation course. It was a new release for a Schneider product line, and at that time, you only know of digital inputs and these kinds of in an academic way, and then seeing it in the real world was completely different. So my first year and a half, I started off as a technician, doing design drawings. Sizing controllers, that sort of stuff, drawing architectures. And then from there, after a year and a half or so, I also did a lot of on-site commissioning. And then about a year and a half later, I switched into sales. So I did sales at Convergent Technologies, who was a system integrator. And then about a year and a half ago, I switched and moved to Honeywell Building Solutions, who's also, you can say, the integrator arm of Honeywell Building Technologies. Okay. And now I work as a business consultant here, primarily focusing on data centers. Building technology in data centers is unbelievably important in keeping a data center safe, secure, resilient. It's a lot of what goes into data centers, electrical and mechanical. And obviously other markets as well. I have a special interest in smart cities as well. Anything that is a long-term plan of how to leverage and get your building future ready, I have a personal interest in, and it's also what I do for work, so which is great.
Great to know that. And like you said, in a data center, like if there's a fluctuation in temperature or the temperature is not maintained, your data is gone. And this is one of the way we are seeing hackers are targeting data centers, building automation, and then switching the temperature, playing with the temperature, and then boom, there you go.
Exactly.
So to those who are listening in, I follow Umar on LinkedIn and have seen amazing posts on building technology and how software is changing the building world. So in a nutshell, what's your view of buildings of future?
Yeah, there's so much that's going to change, but I always like to boil it down to 2 points of what I'm really excited about. Number one is how buildings are going to transform from a specific number of vendors to an ecosystem where you have a lot of vendors working and a lot of applications from. It's a multi-vendor ecosystem is what we're going to see. And if you think of a building right now, you have your security provider, building automation. You can almost count them on one hand, all the providers in the building. But what will happen, and thanks to innovations and things like easy integration through APIs and SDKs, a lot of innovations that we can see in cloud computing, storage, database innovations like the use of Hadoop, and how do you store all this data. That's going to really open a opportunity for other independent software vendors to enter the building automation market, which hasn't been the case for a long time. So really, the real value for all the traditional vendors or technology partners in the building world is who can be the data scientist of the building. Yes. What I mean by data scientist is who can collect all this data and store it and normalize it and create the models on it to make it available for application developers. And whoever can get there first is going to be the winner, right? But what's also nice about that is that the winner will enable more applications. So you're going to have this crazy world of, you can respond to anything quickly. Anyone can build an application a building, which is unheard of. You can think of it as an operating system for a building, kind of like your iOS for your phone, right?
Yes.
The second thing I'm really excited about in the future of buildings is, again, because everything is moving towards software, the way software has always been developed and traditionally released, it's released way faster than your typical building systems now. So right now, every building automation system, for example, you'll update it every 3 years. You'll pay a license, and typically the operator doesn't even see a difference. Yeah. And essentially, you're left with the same automation system for 10 years. You've paid for 3 upgrades. But however, now, because everything is on the software layer, and you have all this data that's readily available, you can start making changes to your dashboards depending on a new use case that came up, or you can deploy a new use case or deploy a new application depending on the situation right now. So for example, right now is a prime situation of how do we, okay, if we had all these sensors and they were all put on a platform that's easily extensible, that makes the data available for everyone, then maybe someone can deploy an application that is using some people counting sensors and whatever to deploy something that can enforce social distancing or stuff like that, right? Yes. So it's these two things. It's the openness and the multi-vendor ecosystem, and then how fast everything is going to start changing rather than the static buildings that we've known.
Yeah, these are really interesting things to know, because first thing, timeline, like you said, once the system is there in a building, it stays there for 10 years. But now with this smart buildings and technology, those who will continuously evolve will survive. And the second thing I really liked, because back then I remember during my college days, APIs for us used to mean web services or APIs in a SDK. Yeah. But now these traditional building systems will also have to come up with APIs and provide a way to integrate. Yeah. Like you cannot just sit in silo and do your own stuff. You have to make the software and the system integrate with others. Yeah. So
100%. Yeah, and it's you can almost abstract the whole layer of what's in the building.
Yes.
Whoever can bring whatever is in the building together into a platform that allows easy development and has great models. That's it. That's all you need, really.
Yeah, so it's like systems needs to talk to each other. They cannot sit in their place. Yes, that's the future of the building. Those were really great things. Thank you for sharing those, Omar. So now everyone is working at home with COVID-19. People are working remote. Buildings are vacant, and I read many of the articles they share that some of the buildings have even shut down their building automation system, and some they did for the first time. I can very well imagine how challenging it would have been to shut down the building automation system. But looking at the current situation, what are your thoughts on back to work plan to ensure occupants' wellness and health, and at the same time focus on operational efficiency, because they have to start the building automation system and has to deal with so many issues related to it. So what's the backup plan?
Yeah. Well, I think, there's this whole movement of, and I'm sure you've seen it all over the place, of healthy buildings, right?
Yes.
What I'm excited about is, I think it's really gonna fundamentally change what building owners or building operators will look for in their building systems. So I think a lot of the things that we've been talking about for the last 5 years and showing the value of it right now has an ultimate use case of, okay, if we put the people sensing technology now, there's a really important use case. If let's use analytics to see how we're doing and to increase occupant confidence in coming back to this. Because at the end of the day, it's right now the entire focus is on the occupant, which we've been talking about for a while. We've been saying the main stakeholder is the occupant, with the 300 saying 300 is on the occupant. And right now we're talking, but right now hey, the occupant won't even come back if you don't have this technology.
Yes.
So technology is going to change. It's going to accelerate in buildings like crazy, and it's in order to actually save buildings.
Yes, and to your point on occupancy sensor, earlier were the days when occupancy sensor was only used to detect occupancy and that's it, and report this area is being occupied. Then we have seen another use like tied with a building automation system or a lighting system, and then based on the occupancy, it used to trigger action on BAS and lighting system. And now you have shared another use case of occupancy sensor, which is really amazing. So it's like a sensor, depending on the situation we are in, you can pull the data and use it the way you want. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So those were really helpful insights. And for those who are listening in, please follow Omar on LinkedIn to stay updated on smart buildings. Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Harsha. No, it was awesome talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Before we sign off, I would say in a smart building, cybersecurity is a risk mitigation issue, not an IT problem. It's everyone's job. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye, Harsha.